I hope many of you had a chance or will have a chance to read our OBA Law Day newsletter. Check your email for it. It's filled with content related to our celebration here today. Dave, thank you so much for putting that together. You did a great job. You should also check out the OBA website or podcast interviews with many of the award recipients, current and past, as well as a bonus conversation with the Douglas County Election Commissioner, Brian Cruz. In 1958, President Eisenhower established Law Day as a day of national celebration and dedication to the principles of government under law, the rule of law in our country. This was done in juxtaposition to the Soviet Union's May 1st International Workers' Day celebration during the height of the Cold War. As a side note, I bet Weber I was going to use the word juxtaposition today in my remarks. You can pay me afterwards. Over the next 65 years, each May 1st has been recognized and celebrated as Law Day by our president. In Omaha, we use Law Day as an opportunity to celebrate the best among us and to reach out to our community, and in particular, our grade schools, and educate them on the importance of our legal system and the work it performs. I personally am very proud and grateful for the work that each of you do every day and the work that in our legal profession. It's so important to not just our community, but our nation as a whole. Thank you very much for that work. At this time, I'm going to turn the mic over to our Law Day co-chair, Doug Law, for introduction and comments. Thanks, Doug.
Thank you, Andy. Okay, happy Law Day, everybody. As we say every year, this is Omaha Bar Association and Omaha legal communities have one of the best law days in the country. I still believe it, and you know, you can just go to other communities and you don't get the variety and excellence that I think you see in this state. And I'm also excited for the theme this year, the Voices of Democracy, because as an energy lawyer, when I started my career in Washington, D.C., and you'd go out to up to Capitol Hill and go to a party and people ask you, what do you do? And I'd say, well, I work at the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. And then they'd start to glaze over and wish they'd never asked, right? But now when we're talking about voting, you know, like everybody in here probably has a candidate that is their voice for democracy, and energy policy is really in the news. And, you know, where before nobody wanted to know what I do, now everybody asks me where I stand on these issues. So that's exciting for me. But anyway, Law Days here again this year. We appreciate all of you that have come here to attend it with us. I'd like to start with introductions here at the head table. As I said, my name's Doug Law. I work with Black Hills Energy. I've got John Minicucci, who's with Union Pacific. Andy Wilson, who's our Omaha Bar Association president, is next to him. Andrea Bell is the Nebraska Paralegal Association representative. Tim Hutchinson is the Omaha Bar Association Public Service Committee member. Stephanie Allison, is the Nebraska Court Reporters Association. And then Vicki Quinn is our Nebraska Court Reporters Association. So if we can give them a quick round of applause. So even though Dave Summers takes on the lion's share, probably more than he should, for organization of our annual Law Day, there are several others on the Law Day committee that we want to recognize at this time. You have Stephanie Allison, Andrea Bell, Alex Black, Linda Henningsen, myself, John Minicucci, Ann Miller, Linda Plazek, Amber Roberts, Gene Reeder, Larry Rowland, and Andy Wilson. So please give them a quick round of applause. We appreciate all of you coming here today, and certainly we want to recognize our table sponsors. If you turn to the back of your program, you can see that Klein Williams is one of our table sponsors, the Koenig Dunn Law Firm, and the Legal Aid of Nebraska. So I'd like to thank each of them for sponsoring the table here and bringing people, and would you give them a round of applause? Every year, you know, I always encourage people not just to read our OBA newsletter, but also the Daily Record, because they do a very extensive profile on the law day every year, and they do a number of interviews. So that's a really good read. But we'd like to do a special thank you to the Daily Record and Jason Huff for their work on producing the Law Day edition for the Daily Record. Can you give them a round of applause? And last but not least, every event that we have, you probably see familiar faces when you check in. So at this point in time, we'd like to thank Jean Reeder, Linda Henningsen, Bonnie Kudrin, and Sherry Mitchell for helping to check everyone into our OBA events. Can you give them a round of applause? So the next part of our presentations is kind of like speed dating. You're going to get a number of different people up here that all well-deserved honorees for the different events. And so at this point, we're going to turn it over to John Minicucci, who's going to MC that part of it.
Thanks, Doug, and thanks to everybody for attending today, and welcome from me and the rest of the Law Day Committee. The first thing we wanted to talk about are a number of our activities, the first one being the mock trial. And this has not taken place yet, but will take place next week on Wednesday, May 8th, and it'll be the case of Goldilocks versus the Three Bears. It'll be heard at Judge Rossiter's courtroom in the U.S. District Court, and it's a civil case related to damages allegedly caused by a negligent or perhaps reckless actions of Goldilocks while trespassing in the residence of the Three Bears. So being duly sworn in as jurors, we have some local fifth grade students that are going to act as jurors in the case and deliberate and decide on the matter to decide if testimony is heard from both, after hearing the testimony from both plaintiffs and the defense, and then actually render a recommendation to the judge. So we do want to thank County Attorney Ann Miller for her work in organizing this trial, Judge Rossiter for presiding over the trial and also for allowing us to use your courtroom and time for the trial. And then we do have some additional folks from the Rose Theater that will portray actors at the actual trial. So thank you for volunteering their time and their roles in both plaintiffs and defendant. While not confirmed yet, we do have some guests that we believe Douglas County Attorney Don Klein will actually play one of the counsel for one side of the case, and local barristers Joe Bradley or Sean Conway will also help out in the case. So I'll look forward to that. Look forward to reporting on that later on. Also wanted to thank everybody for those of you in the audience and as part of the OBA that have participated in the Lawyers in Classroom program. This is a pretty big effort on behalf of members of the bar in Omaha that actually visit 4th and 5th grade classrooms across the whole Omaha metropolitan area. And currently to date, between this last month, May, and then the next couple of weeks coming up, we've visited over 1,000 students in the Omaha metropolitan area. The Lawyers in the Classroom program has attorneys speak to these kids about what it's like to be in the law profession, where you are in the law profession if you want to do that, what it takes, and how to become a lawyer, as well as judges, paralegals, and the like. So that whole professional responsibility and understanding, and also just, hopefully allowing students to actually get motivated to possibly consider a career in law. So we thank you, and a round of applause for those of you who have participated in that program. Thank you. Now, we wouldn't be successful in our ability for Doug and I to be co-chairs of the committee if we didn't have great committee members and great participants across the Omaha Bar Association. And one of those is the Nebraska Paralegal Association. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Andrea Bell of the Nebraska Paralegal Association, and she's going to introduce the 5th grade Law Day poster contest winners. Andrea?
Thanks. You're welcome. All right. Well, the Nebraska, can you guys hear me? I feel like I'm like short and way far back. Nebraska Paralegal Association has teamed up with the OBA for many years to judge the poster contest, and we're excited to do it again this year. We had over 70 entries, and the judges had a difficult time determining our winners. So I do want to thank our judges from Keywood, Barrett Home, and Burlington Capital for taking out time of their day to pick our top 3 posters. The posters were judged on how well they incorporated the Law Day theme of Voices of Democracy. And normally we have first, second, and third place winners, but the competition was so tough that we added 2 honorable mentions this year. The prizes this year are $125 and a 1-year family membership to the Durham Museum for first place, including having their poster displayed on a billboard near 72nd and L Street. Second place will receive $100, third place gets $75, and honorable mentions receive $25. When we announce our winners, we'll have them come up to the front to receive their prizes and have their picture taken with Andy Wilson from the Daily Record. And then I think at the end we may want a group photo, I'm not sure. So we'll start with our honorable mentions. Riley Moon, who is not here today, is in Mrs. Alex Saunders' class at Anchor Point Elementary. Brianna Tagworker is here with her parents, Anthony and Brittany Tagworker. She is in Larry Anderson's class at St. Bernadette. Come on up. Oh.
Actually, let's get all the ones up here. And I'll take one picture.
And take one picture? Okay. Easy. Okay. Our third place winner is Arthur Casey of Mary R. Queen, his father, Josh Casey, and his teacher, Stacy Schloutman. Come on up. There you go. You stand by. Right. Second place winner is Campbell Noah of Mary R. Queen. Her parents are Matt and Stacy Noah, and her teacher, Stacy Schlottman. And finally, our first place winner is Nick Melody of Mary R. Queen, his mother, Chaz Melody, and his teacher, Stacy Schloutman. A big congratulations to all our winners, and we look forward to next year.
One. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, congratulations. All right, now I'd like to introduce Stephanie Allison and Vicki Quinn, of a great partner of the OBA, the Nebraska Court Reporters Association. I think one or both may be coming up here to present our 8th grade Law Day essay contest winners.
Good afternoon. I'm Stephanie Allison. I'm on the executive board of the Nebraska Court Reporters Association. With me today is one of our association members, freelance reporter Vicki Quinn. As you all know, the Nebraska Court Reporters Association is the official association of stenographic court reporters, both official and freelance and broadcast captioners. I'm here to announce the winners of the 8th grade essay contest today. We had over 90 essays submitted on the theme today of Voices of Democracy. I'd like to thank my fellow NECRA board members, Tina Nelson, Crystal McDonald, and Mary Lou Harmon for helping select the top 3 essays. At this time, we'd like to invite our 3 student winners up to join us. Amelia Dolan from St. Vincent de Paul. Evie Hedrick from Kiewit Middle School. And Liam McConville from St. Vincent de Paul. Amelia Dolan is our first place winner and the recipient of a $175 check. Evie Hendrick is our second place winner and the recipient of a $150 check. And Liam McConville is the third place winner and will receive a $125 check.
Andy, when I get over.
Yeah.
Picture without the president.
I know.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
At this time, I'd like to invite the first place winner, Amelia Dolan, to the podium to read her essay.
Hello, my name is Amelia Dolan and I'm an 8th grader at St. Vincent de Paul. Thank you for having me here today and thank you all for coming. Law Day has a special place in my heart since both my grandpas were lawyers and both my parents are lawyers, so I guess it runs in the family. Today I will be reading my essay on this year's Law Day theme, Voices of Democracy. I believe that many of us share our voices through voting, so I decided to write about why we should vote. The theme for Law Day this year is Voices of Democracy. One of the most important ways that we share a voice is through voting. That is why it is critically important that every American fulfills this responsibility and votes. We have the unique opportunity to live in a democracy where every person can shape policy and decision-making at the highest levels of our government. We have the privilege of determining who represents us in local, state, and national government. We regularly get the chance to vote on the leaders of our country and laws that impact our lives daily. Many Americans are empowered by the chance to influence and affect the impending future of our nation. However, voting has additional importance this year since it is our 60th presidential election and our 47th president, I think. This person is going to be responsible for leading our country through a lot of conflict and change that is happening in our nation. We need a leader who is willing to make pivotal decisions in order to shape our future. Whoever is elected for this role as the upcoming president will have a major influence on how we navigate current challenges and improve the life and well-being of our fellow citizens. It is crucial that every qualified American use their voice and vote this year so that we may ensure that we have the right leaders in place to guide our country through these difficult times, both locally and nationally.
Awesome. Congratulations to all the 8th grade essay winners. Now we will turn to a different part of the programming here. We're going to introduce Tim Hutchinson, who's on the Omaha Bar Association's committee related to public service. And I'll have Tim come up here and introduce our award winners. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Good afternoon. Our 2024 OBA Public Service Award for non-attorneys is being presented to the Nebraska Examiner. Here today on their behalf is Kate Folsom, Editor-in-Chief, and Aaron Sanderford, Political Reporter. The Nebraska Examiner is part of a 39-state news consortium called States Newsroom, which is focused on providing nonpartisan coverage of states' issues, primarily focused on the state government level. The Nebraska Examiner is a nonprofit news outlet. All of their stories are free to read and free to republish, so long as you give them proper attribution. Established at the start of 2022 with only 3 full-time reporters, the mission of the Examiner is to provide hard-hitting, daily flow of important news, scoops, and reports to help us better understand our community, with a focus on accountability from our elected officials in government. In their first year as a news outlet, the Examiner published nearly 1,200 stories from only their 3 full-time local reporters. The Examiner stories were republished or mentioned by other news organizations over 5,000 times, added nearly 12,000 followers on social media, and almost 5,000 newsletter subscribers. Overall, the Nebraska Examiner stories received more than 3.7 million page views during their first 12 months of operations. While a young news outlet, the Public Service Committee saw the significant contributions of the Nebraska Examiner in educating the public about the workings of government at no charge to be directly connected to the criteria of our Public Service Award. Please join me in congratulating the Nebraska Examiner on this award and welcome Kate to the podium.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're okay? Chip? All right, yeah. Remarks will be in face. One, two, three.
Awesome. Congratulations. So now we would like to introduce Lori Hairdale to, excuse me, I skipped one, not on purpose here. Nope, we're right. Lori Hairdale to introduce the Robert M. Spire Public Service Award. Lori?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lori Hairdale. I'm the Executive Director at Legal Aid of Nebraska, and I have the honor of introducing Jennifer Gaughan and Myrnie Haney as this year's OBA's Public Service Award recipients. I'm going to ask Myrnie and Jen to come to the podium and stand with me. Thank you. Yeah, you're good. You're good. Okay, thanks, Myrnie. All right, so this award is the Robert M. Spire Award, and it is named after Bob Spire, right? An attorney who embraced the notion of an attorney's important role as a public citizen. Bob served in countless public service roles, including, as you might guess, the president of the Omaha Legal Aid Society's Board of Directors. So now I'm going to make a side note here. There's another award that's going to be given today. It is the Alfred Ellick Lawyer Referral Service Award, and that is a mouthful. And so Mr. Ellick and Mr. Spire once shared a law firm. And interestingly enough, Mr. Ellick actually helped form or found the Omaha Legal Aid Society in the 1960s. So a little bit of history education here this afternoon. Now, some of you might recall that Legal Aid of Nebraska as an organization received this specific award 10 years ago for the work that we do day in and day out, ensuring that Nebraskans, all Nebraskans, regardless of their ability to pay, have access to legal services. We are incredibly honored today to be honoring two of our most long-term tenured attorneys with this award. Jennifer Gaughan, Jen, as we otherwise know her in the office, started her legal career with Legal Aid of Nebraska as a law student. She was a law clerk when she was at UNL. When she graduated from law school, she went to the Lincoln office where she worked for about a year. And then she transferred to our North Platte office where she worked for about 6 years. During her time in North Platte, she was immediately immersed into the areas of law in which we practice. So we're talking about children and families, where she helped victims of domestic violence. She helped individuals who were facing eviction and homelessness issues. She helped folks obtain public benefits, and she helped individuals who needed to file bankruptcy or deal with debt collection issues. Over the course of the last 25 years, Jen has worn many hats at Legal Aid of Nebraska, including being our interim executive director, and she serves as our chief of legal strategy. On the podcast, Jen said, "The determination, resilience, and dedication of our clients is inspiring. and it's motivating to help them pursue justice in their legal matters. I don't feel like my job is a job. I love the work that we do, and I've bought into the mission of legal aid. Now, Myrnie, otherwise known as Myrnie the attorney in our office, knew very well, young in her career, that she wanted to go to law school and that she wanted to help children. And so after a decade of being in Minneapolis, Minnesota, she returned to Omaha, Nebraska, her hometown, where she took up a career with legal aid. After 24 years, Myrnie is leading our Access to Justice self-help centers across the state, where she is working with self-represented litigants, helping them prepare their case and their legal issues for court. So she's often dealing with them, working, helping them write pleadings, explaining the court process, talking with them about what to expect when they get into the courtroom. Myrnie is serving a massive need in our community, helping ensure that self-represented litigants have access to our justice system. One of Myrnie's favorite clinics is where she works with rehabilitated fathers who've never had custody or visitation with their children, file modifications to acquire or start really a relationship with their kids. The criteria for the Robert M. Spire Public Service Award is really three-pronged. First, the public's knowledge of the law or the legal system has been enhanced in some significant way by the recipient's efforts. Second, the recipient has focused on providing service to the community for purposes other than pecuniary gain. And third, the recipient has demonstrated long-term commitment to the enhancement of the public's knowledge of the law. Certainly, Jen and Myrnie fit this criteria, and they no doubt are very deserving of this award today. So please join me in congratulating them.
Andy actually has these words over here.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Over here. We'll edit out the blue face there.
I do have a few remarks to make. I didn't know Robert Spire, but I wish I had. By all accounts, he was an amazing person and well-respected attorney. He was a role model and someone who inspired others. He understood the importance of lawyers giving back, including to those who were unable to afford an attorney. I heard that at his celebration of life ceremony at Creighton, people were given Be Like Bob pins. I am honored to receive this award today. Law Day celebrates the rule of law, and a few weeks ago I was in DC, standing on Capitol Hill between the White House, the United States Capitol, and the United States Supreme Court, the symbols of democracy. And when I was on my visit, I was reminded that our government was founded on the principles of justice, liberty, and equality. The preamble to the United States Constitution begins, "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice." And it's a privilege to practice law. As attorneys, we swear an oath to support the Constitution, and we have a duty to uphold justice. The ability to access justice is critical to ensuring our democracy remains strong. Access to justice is something that shouldn't be a partisan issue. It should be something that we all agree on, because the inability to access justice results in diminished opportunity, unequal treatment, and oppression, and democracy falters. When I went to law school, I knew I wanted to advocate to ensure people were treated fairly, and I had the opportunity to clerk at Legal Aid of Nebraska, and I knew I had found my professional home. I believe very strongly in its mission. Legal Aid provides free civil legal services to thousands of low-income Nebraskans each year, and I'm fortunate to work alongside brilliant colleagues who are here at this table, who believe just as strongly in its mission. Working at Legal Aid, I see firsthand the impact of having an attorney has on individuals and on our community. And I want to thank Legal Aid for providing me the opportunity to do what I love,
and it's an honor to work there, and it's an honor to serve our clients. I also want to take a moment to thank my husband, Kevin, who's also here today. Without his support and encouragement and partnership, I don't know that I would have been able to have a career as long as I have a legal aid. And I also recognize that many of you work for or support public interest organizations, and including volunteering your time. And your contributions are available to advancing justice. So I appreciate the opportunity to reflect on Robert Spire's legacy, and I will aspire every day to be a little bit more like Bob. And thank you again for this honor.
I just want to take the time to say thank you to the OBA and particularly the Public Service Committee for this award. And I'd like to say thank you to Legal Aid of Nebraska for providing me a professional home for the last 23 years. Thank you.
Lori just mentioned the background of Robert M. Spire that also had with Alfred Ellick. And our next award, I'd like to ask Dan Rock to come up and present the Omaha Bar Association Alfred G. Ellick Loyal Referral Service Award. Dan? Thanks, Dan.
Good afternoon. As a Lawyer Referral Service Committee member, it is my pleasure to announce the 2024 recipient of the Alfred G. Ellick Lawyer Referral Award. This award is presented annually to those attorneys who have been members of the Omaha Bar Association's Lawyer Referral Service for 10 years or more. The award is named in honor of Alfred G. Ellick, who in 1962, during his term as president of the OBA, established the OBA Lawyer Referral Service. And over 60 years later, the Lawyer Referral Service continues to be a cornerstone of the Omaha Bar Association's commitment to public service by its attorney. Doug Novotny, who is receiving the award this year, has shown exemplary dedication and commitment to the Lawyer Referral Service. In 2013, Doug joined the Lawyer Referral Service as a panel member. In 2014, he became a member of the committee and served as a committee chairman from 2017 to 2019. And then from 2019 to 2021, Doug served as he assisted the Lawyer Referral Service with the overwhelming number of requests with employment and landlord-tenant issues that were caused by the pandemic. When Donna Berkby from the Lawyer Referral Service called Doug with client referrals, Doug has never said no unless he has a conflict. He gave many consultations to referred clients, often without charge. The OBA is grateful for Doug's longstanding public service and his support of the Lawyer Referral Service. Doug is uniquely deserving of this award. At this time, I ask Doug, the 2024 recipient of the Alfred G. Ellick Lawyer Referral Service Award, to come forward to receive his plaque.
Yeah, the blue there. How do they do that to Andy? Just move me around. 2, 3. Awesome.
Hey, congratulations, Doug. This time I'd like to call up Angela Lennon, who will introduce our award winner for the Lori Smith Camp Integrity and Service Award. Or Dave. Oh, Dave's doing it today.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Angela Lennon, your Omaha Bar Association president-elect. Nice to see you. Angela can't be here today. She's unfortunately sick. I'm stepping in for her. So thank you all for being here. Thank you to all the kids and their parents for being here as well. The Lori Smith Camp Integrity and Service Award is our newest award at the Omaha Bar Association, and it is my absolute pleasure to introduce Diane Logier as our recipient this year. The Smith Camp Award is named after one of our best, a trailblazer, a leader, a mentor, a friend. Judge Lori Smith Camp was the first female federal judge in the state of Nebraska. She always made a point to be meaningfully connected with as many attorneys as possible, young and old. Judge Smithcamp's impact on the local legal community cannot be overstated. Her leadership, grace, and judicial philosophy have carved out a legacy that continues on. In 2021, the Omaha Bar Association created the Lori Smithcamp Integrity and Service Award, and we present it annually at our Law Day lunch. Through this award, we recognize those who, like Lori, have left their mark on this world in such a positive and meaningful way. The award criteria are listed as follows. For outstanding contributions above and beyond the call of duty related to advancing diversity and inclusion, improving access to justice, providing pro bono service, mentoring of others, advancing innovation in the legal profession, and/or serving and representing the legal community. Diane Logier is our 2024 Smithcamp Award recipient. Born and raised in Minnesota in a working class household, Diane attended law school at William Mitchell at night while working full-time during the day. After law school, Diane continued her work at Health One, a company that owns and manages hospitals in the upper Midwest. While working in Minneapolis in the early 1990s, one of Diane's former law school professors introduced her to Alan Logier, owner and head of Logier Corporation in Omaha. The two hit it off, and soon Diane moved to Omaha, got married to Alan, and started a legal counsel position with CHI. A few years later, the in-house legal position at Logier came somewhat abruptly open, and she decided, along with Alan, that she'd fill the position in an interim level while they found a replacement. 31 years later, Diane continues to be legal counsel at Logier. Through Diane's direction, the Logier Foundation donates millions of dollars each year to worthwhile programming and services in the Omaha area, including many programs focused on women and girls' education. Keenly focused on the importance of supporting local nonprofits and with general operating funds, with their donations, the Logier Foundation is firmly committed to helping those in the community in need. If you get a chance, I highly recommend listening to our interview that Diane graciously did with me the other week. It's on our website. You'll learn a lot more about Diane's story and the work that she does. Please join me in welcoming up Diane for this well-deserved honor and recognition.
I'll get the tab.
Okay. Thank you, Dave. Dave was really terrific through all of this. He made it like as painless as it could possibly be, which was great. I want to thank the Bar Association, the President's Council of the Bar Association for this honor. And again, Dave, for arranging the day for all of us and for me specifically. Some of you who know me know that I'm very uncomfortable about being recognized in this way. I believe the people who actually do the work, those whose names are rarely known to the recipients of their efforts, let alone to the public, are the ones who should always be recognized for all they give and for all they do. But being granted this recognition for an award that was created in honor of Lori Smithcamp is very special and very meaningful to me. Lori and I, I met Lori through a book club that we were both on for probably 10 years. She was one of the people in my life who I came to respect the most. It is humbling to be associated in this way with her. She was truly a remarkable woman. Her legacy, I think, is one of unwavering integrity, dedication, and service to others. Yes, she was an incredible lawyer and an amazing judge. But to me, even more importantly, she was an amazing human being who led with her heart always. Thank you.
So at this time, it's my pleasure and honor to introduce our Law Day featured guest speaker, Robert Evnen, to the Omaha Law Day 2024 luncheon. And as you've heard a few times now, the theme for this year's Law Day is by the American Bar Association is Voices of Democracy. And the Law Day theme focuses on, in addition to the rule of law, the importance of voting in our system of government. You heard just a few minutes ago a powerful statement on the importance of voting by an 8th grader, Amelia Dolan, in her essay. And Amelia, I only hope and pray that many people who are actually voting age have the same clarity and understanding as you've articulated in your essay here today. But no matter who each of us chooses for our voice of democracy, we all want to have faith in that our election process is fair. We all want to know that the representatives we vote for on election day were properly elected, especially if you are that person that's in the arena, as Teddy Roosevelt said many years ago. And we all want to know that that process was fair. We want to know that the people overseeing our elections are honest and that they follow the election laws established by the people for the people. So with that connection to voting, we are extremely excited today to have the Secretary of State for the state of Nebraska with us today to give his remarks. He's our top election official in Nebraska. He's our guest speaker today. We couldn't have a more timely speaker for this Law Day theme. And Robert Evnen, who may be better known as Bob to many of those who know him, is our 27th Secretary of State for the state of Nebraska. It's a position that he's held since 2019. Prior to his election, Bob practiced labor and employment law in Lincoln at the Woods and Aiken Law Firm for 32 years. So he's continuing public service now, and we thank you for that, Secretary. And he's served as a member of the State Board of Education, as general counsel for the Nebraskan Republican Party, and campaign treasurer for Senator Deb Fischer's campaign committee. So at this time, please join me in welcoming Secretary Evnen to our Omaha Law Day 2024 celebration.
Well, it's great to thank you so much. It's terrific to be with you. It's terrific to join you in your celebration. I'm very glad to be here. This is my watch. I put it right here. You'll be out by 1 o'clock. It's always a great applause line. I want to take just a moment to talk about Judge Lori Smith Camp. She was a great judge. I'm sure you'll agree. She was a great judge. And what lawyers mean when they say a judge was great is that more often than not, they were able to win in front of that judge. But Judge Lori Smith Camp was a very capable judge. We all miss her deeply. And she was also, as has been said, a wonderful human being and a wonderful community leader in her way. But here's something that I ask of those who are in this room today. How many of you have ever been cross-examined on the witness stand by Lori Smith Camp? When she was the chief deputy on the civil division in the Attorney General's office, I was a witness in a case. And I was on the other side of this case from the Attorney General's position. And I actually have been cross-examined by Lori Smith Camp, who was very capable at that as well. So all you have to do is buy me a beer and I'll tell you the rest of that story. It's terrific to celebrate Law Day with you. And I'm put in mind of something that Winston Churchill said. Most of you remember Winston Churchill. He was a distinguished prime minister of Great Britain. Winston Churchill said, "Democracy is the worst form of government ever invented, except for all the rest." And so here we are with our representative democracy, our republic. And the question is, that I ask you today, is what was the great political and philosophical breakthrough represented by the creation of the United States of America in the last quarter of the 19th century, and the last quarter of the 18th century? What was the great political, philosophical, and political breakthrough represented by the formation of the United States of America. We begin with the philosophical breakthrough. Where did we get our rights? This was an enormous breakthrough. In Europe, in England, you get your rights from the king. You get your rights from the monarch. The monarch gives you whatever rights you have. The monarch can take away whatever rights that you have, which includes your right to have a head from time to time. The people who formed the United States of America, you didn't get your rights from the monarch. We didn't have a monarch. Where did our rights come from? We get our rights from our Creator. That we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. This is in our formational document, right at the beginning. What's it mean to be inalienable? They can't be taken from you. The king can take them back. But your Creator has endowed each individual human being with certain inalienable rights. They can't be taken from you, and you have them as an individual human being. That was a great philosophical breakthrough. People hadn't considered that. And it was the coalescence of philosophical thought of the day. Well, but this creates a political problem, doesn't it? Because the king makes the rules. You have a king, the king makes the laws, the king makes the rules, the king provides you with your property. All property goes back to the king. The king provides property rights. What if and rules and laws? What if you don't have a king? Where does your governance come from? You don't have to worry about governance if you have a king. The king takes care of all of that. But we didn't have a king. Our rights didn't come from the king. So how do we engage in governance? And that's the political breakthrough, is we engaged in self-governance in this brilliantly conceived and constructed tripartite system of government created with a separation of powers so that no one branch of government could become all-powerful. And if you look at Supreme Court jurisprudence, there's an enormous body of Supreme Court jurisprudence, U.S. Supreme Court jurisprudence, that deals with the line between each of the branches of government. We consider this to be dull, and it doesn't have a lot of sizzle in the press, but it is enormously important to maintaining our representative democracy. So then the question becomes, all right, we have a representative democracy. How do we govern ourselves in this? How do we engage in governance? And the answer is, we elect people from among ourselves to take the tiller of government for time and to engage in governance until the next citizen comes up. And this was a political breakthrough represented by the formation of the country. We elect representatives from among ourselves to engage in governance. It seems just like pedestrian now, just commonplace. We take it for granted. It wasn't. It was an enormous breakthrough. So you can see from the fact that we're engaging in representative government, that where we elect people from among ourselves to engage in governance, you can see the absolutely critical factor of elections, how bedrock elections are in order for us to conduct our governance the way that it's been designed. And so the integrity of our elections is paramount. Why? Well, if our elections lack integrity, if you don't have confidence in the integrity of our elections, those are two separate but related things, then you're not going to have confidence that the people who are elected through these mechanisms of elections are legitimate. They're not legitimate if you don't have confidence in the integrity of the elections. And if the people who are elected are not elected legitimately so, then the laws that they pass and enforce aren't really legitimate either, are they? And thus we start to loosen the bonds of the rule of law, which after all is all we have as a civilized society. What is it that distinguishes us from chaos? It's the existence of the rule of law. Well, the bonds of the rule of law get loosened if the people who pass them and enforce them weren't legitimate to begin with. And so we have the incredibly significant bedrock consideration of the conduct of our elections. It's serious business. And elections, after all, are high stakes deals. I mean, if you take a look, there are 49 people who go to Lincoln, and they're controlling, I don't know, $5.5 billion a year. And that's before you even talk about what they regulate. That's a pretty high stakes deal for 49 people. Consider the Congress of the United States. There's 535 people control trillions of dollars every year. I don't know, that seems like a lot of money to me. It's an inconceivable amount of money, really. Before you ever talk about what they regulate. So our elections are high stakes deals. And what that means is, well, let me just make one other general observation about life. Not everyone possesses the morals and ethics that you do. Not everyone lives an ethical and moral life the way that you do. There are people out there who, if they can manipulate a system, they will do it, particularly where you have high stakes involved, such as in our elections. And you know, this isn't something new. It's now just an accepted historical fact that Mayor Richard Daley of Chicago in 1960 held up the results in Illinois of the presidential election until he found out what downstate Illinois had done. Downstate Illinois voted overwhelmingly for Richard Nixon, so Richard Daley held up the count in Chicago so he could figure out how many votes he had to make up, and then he did so. This isn't historically disputed. So we have examples. That was 1960. That was a while ago. So this is always a challenge. This is always going to be a challenge in the conduct of elections, is how to tamp down election manipulation and in order to maintain fairness, accuracy, and integrity. And we're working all the time on this. We don't take this for granted. This is not a static consideration. It still goes on. It's not a static consideration. It's a dynamic consideration because things change, systems change, methods change. And so what also changes is the opportunity to manipulate them. Well, in Nebraska, we now have voter ID. Voter ID is the people of the state of Nebraska, our voters, overwhelmingly voted to amend the Constitution, 65% plus, voted to amend the Nebraska Constitution to include a provision requiring photo ID when voting in the manner specified by the legislature. Those are the words of the amendment. In the manner specified by the legislature. That was passed in November of 2022. A year ago in 2023, the legislature passed a voter ID bill, and that is what we're now implementing. So now 97 to 98% of Nebraskans who are registered to vote already have a state-issued photo ID. So that's good. There are several other issued by DMV. Your driver's license or a state-issued ID by DMV. There are other IDs that are also permitted under the statute: a military ID, a passport, a student ID if you're a college student in Nebraska, from a private or a public college that has a photo on it, a photo ID that's issued by a political subdivision. There are provisions for people who live in independent living communities and assisted living communities. If you when you go into one of these communities, a photographic record is produced by the community itself, the facility, you can use that. So we have a number of mechanisms. There are people, in order to comply with U.S. Supreme Court precedent, there are people who have a religious objection to being photographed. Well, they can file a certification under penalty of law. Well, what does that mean, a penalty of law? That means that if you falsely file a certification, that you violated the Election Act, and that's a felony. So we have some pretty powerful ways of controlling abuse of this, misuse of it, and it's something that we needed to have. First of all, it's the right thing to do, but it's also a requirement of the U.S. Supreme Court. We're doing that. That's part of the law. And then you have, sometimes people are asking, well, why do we have this? Because we don't have problems of this kind. We don't have people doing this. Why are we doing this? And my answer is, I don't know. Why do we have vaults and banks? Why don't we just wait to see if they're robbed? And then we can talk about whether we put a vault in. This is a matter of staying ahead of the curve. And the way that the legislature has, the bill that the legislature has enacted and the way that we are implementing that bill, I believe, assures that there will be no disenfranchisement as a result of this requirement. And that's obviously a very important consideration. And let me just, in the few minutes I have left, I want to talk to you a little bit about what we do to assure security, election security in our elections in the state of Nebraska. My portfolio is the state of Nebraska. I'm honored and privileged to hold this position. I can't speak for other states. I don't speak for other states, but I can tell you that here, we have mechanisms in place to assure the security and the accuracy of our elections. We test every ballot counting machine in the state across all 93 counties. It tested 3 times in the month before every statewide election. It'd be tested three times before the primary this year and 3 times before the general election this year. In addition to that, prior to the election, we have 2 mock elections where we test each step of our election system for accuracy. After the election, we do an audit. We hand count 10% of the precincts across the state. These precincts, at least 1 precinct in every county. And the precincts are selected using a random numbers table after the polls are closed. So nobody knows which precincts are going to be counted till after the polls are closed. We went across the state. Our election officials across the state of Nebraska in 2024, after the general election, counted over 38,000 ballots. I don't have that number right. I'll have to figure out that number and give it to you. But it was some number in that vicinity, 48,000 ballots. And out of that hand count of 48,000 ballots in 3 different races, there were discrepancies between the hand count and the machine counted ballots. There were discrepancies in 11 ballots. 5 of those ballots, that's a discrepancy rate. This is how you can work backwards and figure out how many were counted. It was a discrepancy rate of 23 thousandths of 1%. 23 thousandths of 1%. That was a discrepancy rate. 5 of those 11 ballots, the machines couldn't count because the voters marked the ballot too lightly. And the machine couldn't read it. Now, every single ballot that goes out to voters in the state of Nebraska contains the following instruction. Every ballot. Darken the oval completely. And these 5, voters, 48,000 of their friends and neighbors were able to follow this instruction, but these 5 voters were not. And I asked first of all, if you're not following that instruction, I don't consider that to be a machine problem. I think that the voter bears responsibility for that. And I asked myself, what happened there? And my theory is that these voters wanted to vote for this particular candidate, but not very much. And it just doesn't work that way. So, and the other 6 ballots we believe were misfiled. So we really owe a debt of gratitude to our election officials across the state, our election officials in every county, because Nebraska's elections are fair, they're secure, and they're accurate. And the people who make that happen are the election officials across the state of Nebraska, to whom, in my opinion, we owe a great debt of gratitude. And so I'll leave you with that. I appreciate very much, again, the opportunity to be with you this afternoon. Congratulations to the award winners, and thank you.
Well, once again, I'd like to finally thank everybody for attending today. We hope you have a wonderful law day, and we also hope to see you here again next year. Have a wonderful day.